Have you ever met someone who, no matter what happens, always finds a way to blame themselves? That person who, even when the mistake is clearly someone else's, ends up taking responsibility as if it were their own burden? While the majority seek justifications or distribute blame, they seem like magnets of self-criticism, attracting the full weight of situations to themselves. But is this just a personality trait? Or is there something deeper behind this need to carry the world on your shoulders? First of all, it's important to say, there's nothing wrong with being responsible. People like this tend to be reliable, dedicated, and even heroic in times of crisis. But when guilt becomes a pattern, an automatic reflex in the face of any setback, it's worth taking a closer look. Because often this attitude is not about the facts themselves, but about an internal story that was written long before current events. Perhaps, in childhood, they learned that love and approval were linked to being useful. A father who only smiled when his son solved the house's problems. A mother who, even without saying it, conveyed that being loved was synonymous with being indispensable. Over time, the brain internalizes, if I don't take the blame, they might abandon me. And so, self-criticism becomes an emotional survival mechanism, a way of ensuring that they will not be left aside. Or, there may have been a traumatic moment, a mistake made years ago, a failure that had serious consequences, and that, although forgiven by others, was never absolved by themselves. The mind holds it like an invisible debt, and each new situation becomes an opportunity to pay for something that has already passed. It's as if they carry a backpack full of stones, and with each new guilt they take on, they put another one inside, thinking that, one day, the weight will be enough to redeem them. These people tend to be perfectionists, because they believe that only the best is acceptable, hypervigilant, they anticipate mistakes to avoid them, and, ironically, very critical of others, not out of malice, but because they project onto them the same relentless lens that they use on themselves. But behind this facade of control, there is often a deep fear of not being enough. As if, by taking the blame, they are proving to themselves and to the world that they still have value, even if it is as the villain of the story. However, this need to blame yourself can hide painful wisdom. They understand, more than anyone, that life is made up of nuances, that something is rarely 100% right or 100% wrong, and that, often, it's not anyone's fault, but rather circumstances, systems, or simple bad luck. The problem is that, instead of using this understanding to free themselves, they use it to imprison themselves even more, as if they were the only ones capable of seeing the complexity of things, and, therefore, the only ones who should pay for it. If you recognize yourself in this pattern, no, you are not a masochist, nor are you weak. You just learned, one way or another, that taking the blame was a way to feel in control. But here's the truth that few tell you, you don't have to carry the world alone. Allowing others to assume your responsibilities is not selfish, it is justice. And, more than that, it is self-compassion. Because, after all, life is not a court where you need to be both defendant, judge, and executioner. Sometimes mistakes are just mistakes. Sometimes things go wrong without anyone being to blame. And other times, it's someone other than you who's to blame. Learning to distinguish this is not escaping responsibility, it is freeing yourself from a prison you built yourself. So the next time you feel that automatic urge to say it was my fault, pause. Breathe. And ask yourself, am I admitting this because I really did something wrong, or because, somewhere inside, I still think I need to? Oh, prove that I deserve to be here. If this text made sense to you, comment here. Do you also have this habit of blaming yourself for everything? Share with those who need to hear that you don't need to carry the weight of the world alone. And, if you want more reflections like this, turn on notifications so you don't miss the next insights. Until next time, and remember, you are human, not a punching bag. The invisible weight of expectations, and how to release it without guilt. There is a type of exhaustion that does not come from the body, but from the soul. It is the tiredness of always being the person holding the line. The one who remembers birthdays, who measures her words so as not to hurt, who takes the blame even before being accused. You know that feeling well, don't you? It's like carrying an invisible backpack full of stones that others don't even know exist, and, worse, that you often put there yourself. Here's the blunt truth, you are not a savior. She is not a goddess of emotional multitasking, nor a martyr who needs to prove her worth through sacrifice. But at some point, someone, or yourself, convinced you that love is synonymous with overload. That being a good daughter, a good friend, or a good professional means giving up on yourself before anyone asks. And so, without realizing it, you became a hostage to a script you never wrote. Stop and think. When was the last time you said no without feeling guilty? When was the last time you let something burn, an unanswered message, a dirty dish in the sink, an unrequited favor, and didn't find yourself, hours later, mentally revisiting the scene as if it were an unforgivable crime? The phantom liability trap. There is a psychological phenomenon that almost no one names: phantom responsibility. These are those obligations that you assume alone, without anyone having delegated them, as if it were your personal mission to ensure that everyone around you is well, even if it means using up your reserves. No detail escapes, because if it does, it will be your fault. Things work perfectly, as if chaos were a personal offense to their existence. Practical example. You organize a dinner. Someone forgets to bring the wine. Your first reaction is not too bad, next time we'll be better together, but I should have remembered to tell you again. I failed. As if you were the official guardian of other people's memories. This is not zeal. It's a self-imposed prison. And the most ironic, no one asked you to be your own jailer. Most of the time, others don't even notice that you are drowning in silence. They go on with their lives, while you count the minutes you wasted worrying about what isn't yours. The myth of the indispensable person, and why you're not. Here's a bombshell: the world doesn't stop when you rest. This idea that if you're not always available, everything will fall apart is one of the biggest deceptions that anxiety has ever invented. Take the test. Stop replying to a message for a few hours. What happens? Spoiler: nothing. Or, at most, someone asks you how are you? And then you feel forced to come up with an elaborate excuse to justify your basic humanity. Say no to a request that you are unable to fulfill. What happens? Does the person get upset? Maybe. But they survive. And so do you. The inconvenient truth. You are not irreplaceable. And that is liberating. Not in the sense that you don't matter, but that the universe doesn't revolve around your ability to withstand pain. When you stop treating yourself as the last line of defense against chaos, you realize that 1. Others are capable, yes, even that friend who always forgets things. 2. You deserve to rest without having to earn that right. 3. Love is not measured in liters of emotional blood. How to stop being the savior, without becoming selfish. Here's the hidden fear behind letting go of control: if I stop doing everything, they'll think I'm selfish. But there is a difference. Crucial between selfishness and self-preservation. Selfishness is taking from others for yourself. Self-preservation is stopping donating until you bleed. Practical steps to get started today. 1. Make a list of phantom responsibilities. Write down everything you do out of internal obligation, not out of external request. I remember everyone's birthdays. Nobody elected you emotional secretary of the family. I'm always the one who calls first. Friendship is not an exclusive contract. 2. Try let it burn. Choose one small thing not to do, e.g. not replying to a WhatsApp group for a day. Watch what happens. Spoiler: the world doesn't end. And if someone complains, ask, why is this my responsibility? 3. Swap sorry for gratitude. Instead of, sorry it took so long, thank you for waiting. Instead of, I should have done more, I did what I could, and that's enough. Why does it work? You rewire your brain to see boundaries as acts of respect, not neglect. 4. Practice the 5-minute rule. Before taking on a task or blame, wait 5 minutes and ask, is this really mine? What happens if I don't do it? Does anyone die or suffer irreversible consequences? 99% of the time, the answer is no. The silent revolution of who stops saving the world. When you stop treating yourself as the last ditch against disaster, something magical happens. People start to take responsibility, because, surprise, they are capable. You regain energy for what really matters: your passions, your rest, your dreams. Respect for your limits grows because you stop training others to ignore them. And the most surprising thing? The world doesn't collapse. In fact, it becomes lighter, because you stop carrying the weight of others on your back. Final reflection, to take to heart. You are not a human bridge for others to cross their crises. You are not an infinite battery of emotional energy. You are a person with rights, limits, and the sacred need to sometimes simply exist without justification. Now tell me in the comments. What is your heaviest phantom responsibility? The one that you take on without anyone asking, but that exhausts you? Have you ever tried to let it burn something small? How did you feel? Share this text with anyone who needs to hear that it is not selfish to want to breathe. And if you want more reflections like this, turn on notifications, because you deserve to remember, every day, that your peace is non-negotiable. Until next time. And remember, you are not here to be anyone's savior. Not even from herself, all the time. Yellowheart.